So hi guys, in this video, I will discuss the procedures on how to translate financial statements. The accounting standard that we will be using would be the IS 21, the effects of changes in foreign exchange rates. According to IS 21, there are two types of currencies, functional and presentation currency. Functional currency is defined as the currency of the primary economic environment in which the entity operates. It is the currency in which the company's cash flows are denominated into and not necessarily the currency of the country where the company is based. In simple terms, ang functional currency ay tinatawag ding transactional currency. Meaning, ito yung currency na ginagamit natin tuwing nakikipag-transact tayo. Pag bumibili tayo ng goods, ano ba yung currency na ginagamit natin? Pag nagbebenta tayo ng goods, ano ba yung currency na ginagamit natin? That would be your functional currency. Now, functional currency is normally equivalent to the local currency of the country where the company is based. Normally, that would be your case. But there are instances kasi na hindi applicable ang rule na yon. Okay? For example, may company na naka-base dito sa Pilipinas pero ang transactions niya ay nasa ibang bansa. So the functional currency of that company is not equivalent to the local currency of the Philippines. Rather, the functional currency of that company is equivalent to the local currency kung saan siya nakikipag-transact. Alright? That is your functional currency. Move on to presentation currency. It is the currency in which the company's financial statements are presented. Therefore, presentation currency is known as financial statement currency. Ito yung currency na ginagamit natin kapag nagpe-presenta tayo ng financial statements. Apply natin ang mga definitions ng functional and presentation currency. So, stand-alone company lang muna, basic problem lang. Oriental Company is a company registered in Canada whose shares are traded in the Toronto Stock Exchange. The Oriental's operating activities take place in the Philippines. Okay, let's determine the functional currency. Ano nga ulit ang definition natin ng functional currency kanina? It is a transactional currency. So, saan usually nagkakaroon ng transaction si Oriental Company? Is it sa Canada or sa Philippines? Answer, sa Pilipinas siya nagkakaroon ng mga transaction. Therefore, answer for number 1, Oriental Company's functional currency should be the Philippine pesos. Number 2, what is the presentation currency? Now, since Oriental Company is a company registered in Canada whose shares are traded in the Toronto Stock Exchange, Oriental Company is required to prepare financial statements stated in the local currency of Canada. Therefore, the presentation currency of Oriental Company is Canadian dollars. So in this problem, nai-apply agad natin yung concepts ng definitions ni functional and presentation currency. Observe that functional currency is not necessarily the local currency kung saan nakabase yung company. Second problem, this time, parent and subsidiary naman. Manila Company is a parent company based in the Philippines. It has a subsidiary based in Turkey. Determine the functional and presentation currency of Manila and the subsidiary. Functional currency muna tayo. What do you think will be the functional currency of Manila Company? Diba normally ang functional currency ay equal sa local currency kung saan nakabase yung company? Therefore, ang sagot natin, functional currency of Manila Company should be Philippine peso. Next, what do you think will be the functional currency of the subsidiary company? What's the local currency of Turkey? That is Turkish lira. Let's move on to presentation currency. What do you think will be the presentation currency of Manila Company? Ito lang tatandaan nyo. Normally, presentation currency is equal to the functional currency. Therefore, presentation currency of the Manila company is also Philippine Peso. Okay? Last one, subsidiary. What do you think will be the presentation currency of the subsidiary company? Ito, magiging exception dun sa rule natin. Okay? Now, analyze natin. Since this company is a subsidiary of a parent company based in Manila, ang presentation currency ng subsidiary na ito ay magiging iba sa functional currency. Why? That is because of the consolidation concept. Recall that in your business combination, whenever na magkakaroon tayo ng parent and subsidiary relationship, the parent company must prepare consolidated financial statements. Okay? Therefore, since kailangan palang gumawa ni parent company ng consolidated financial statements, kailangan niya yung financial statements ng subsidiary niya, which is stated in Philippine Peso. That's why the presentation currency of the subsidiary in Turkey should be Philippine Peso. What's the logic behind? Okay. Ito ang scenario natin, no? Pwede ba natin i-combine ang financial statement ng Manila company na nakastate na sa Philippine Peso with the financial statement of the subsidiary stated in Turkish lira? Pwede bang i-combine yon? Answer, no. Magkaibang currency yan. Hindi pwedeng ipaghalo ang magkaibang currency. That's why the presentation currency of the subsidiary is Philippine Peso. Malinaw na ang concept ng functional and presentation currency natin. Let's move on to the translation method. Translation method to use will depend whether the functional currency is a currency of a hyperinflationary economy or not. Sir, what are the indicators para masabi natin kung ang ekonomiya ay nasa hyperinflationary stage na? May ibang accounting standard tayong pagbabasihan para masagot ang tanong na yan. But unfortunately, hindi yan mako-cover sa video na ito. Mako-cover pa yun sa ibang video. Pero kahit pa paano, dadaanan natin siya. Okay? So, ang focus ng video na ito ay functional currency is not the currency of a hyperinflationary economy. Okay, so, for our first case, if the functional currency is not the currency of a hyperinflationary economy, we will have to use the closing rate method. But, if the functional currency is a currency of a hyperinflationary economy, we will have to use restate and translate method. Okay? Focus lang muna tayo kay closing rate method. Sa dulo ng video, madidiscuss natin ang restate and translate method. What are the main features of the closing rate method? First, dapat alam nyo muna kung ano yung classification ng account na itatranslate natin. Is it an asset? Is it a liability, income, expense, contributed capital, or retained earnings account yan? Okay, so, if you want to translate asset account, anong exchange rate ang gagamitin natin to translate that account? Answer, closing rate. When we say closing rate, that's your year-end exchange rate. Pag liability naman ang gusto mo i-translate, closing rate din ang gagamitin natin. Closing rate or exchange rate. Now, if we are to translate income and expense accounts, anong exchange rate ang gagamitin natin? According to our closing rate method, we will have to use exchange rate as of transaction dates. Theoretically, exchange rate as of transaction dates. But, kung iisipin natin ng mas malalim, practical bang gamitin ang mga exchange rate as of transaction dates kapag gusto natin i-translate ang income and expense? For example, daily sales, daily payment of expenses. Is it practical na dapat alam natin ang exchange rate as of January 1, January 2, February 1, February 2, and so on? Answer, hindi. Therefore, sabi ni IAS 21, for practical reasons, we will have to use average rate to translate income and expense accounts. So, theoretically, transaction date, exchange rates ang dapat gamitin para ma-translate ang mga income and expenses. But for practical reasons, average rate ang gagamitin natin. Now, contributed capital accounts. How do we translate contributed capital accounts? First, ano ba yung mga contributed capital accounts? Contributed capital accounts are share capital and share premium accounts. So, anong exchange rate ang gagamitin natin para ma-translate ang mga ito? That is, historical rate. Usually, ang historical rate, that would be your date of acquisition. That would be your date of acquisition. Next, retained earnings. If we are to translate the retained earnings balance, dapat alam natin kung ano yung mga components ng retained earnings. So dito, meron daw siyang beginning balance component, profit or loss component, and dividends. Okay, how do you translate the retained earnings beginning balance? Pagdating dito, dapat alam nyo muna kung first year of translation ba yan or subsequent year of translation na. Kasi kapag first year, historical rate ang gagamitin nyo. Pero kapag subsequent year na siya, translated balance as of last period na ang equivalent ng RE beginning natin. Next, profit or loss, that is in connection with your income and expense accounts. Theoretically, exchange rate as of transaction dates ang gagamitin. But for practical reasons, average rate na lang. Lastly, dividends. How do you translate dividends? It should be the exchange rate as of the date of transaction. Now, ano ba ang concept ng date of transaction when it comes to dividends? Okay? Ang transaction date na sinasabi natin dito ay the date of declaration. Take note, the date of transaction when it comes to dividends would be the date of declaration. Take note of that. So, here is your main features of your closing rate method. Yan ang kailangan nyo lang tandaan para mag-translate ng financial statements. Next, treatment of translation difference. Ano ba yung translation differences? Normally kasi, kapag nagta-translate tayo ng mga foreign amounts, hindi natin maiiwasan ang mga differences. Lalo na iba-ibang exchange rates ang gagamitin natin. Okay? So, ano treatment natin dito kay translation difference? Now, before we go into that, dapat alam natin kung ano yung mga iba pang tawag sa kanya. So, translation differences is also known as translation adjustments, translation reserves, translation gains, and losses. Now, ano treatment natin sa kanya? It is an OCI item. Tandaan nyo, translation difference is an OCI item. Then, it will be taken to profit or loss when the foreign operation is disposed of. Hanggat nag-ooperate ang foreign operation natin sa ibang bansa, nasa OCI lang ang translation differences natin. Pero kapag dinispose na natin yan or binenta na natin, mapupunta na sa P&L ang translation differences. Alright. First problem. I-apply na natin lahat ng concepts from our previous slides into this problem. For the first problem, 1 year of translation muna. May second problem tayo, 2 years of translation. Pero ito muna, basics lang muna tayo. Okay? So, on January 1, 2019, Maryland Company acquired a 100% interest in the ordinary shares of Monroe Company, which is a USA firm. On that date, Monroe stockholders' equity accounts are as follows. Given sa atin yan. Then, we are also provided the December 31, 2019 trial balance, which is stated in US dollars. Okay. Now, Monroe declared and paid dividends of $3,000 December 1, 2019. Relevant exchange rates are as follows. Ayan. Take note nyo yung mga exchange rates natin. Gagamitin natin yan to answer these different requirements. There will be 7 requirements. Okay? Sige. So, let's answer them one by one. For number 1, how much is the total assets of Monroe Company on December 31, 2019 translated in Philippine Peso? So based on our trial balance, there are different asset accounts of Monroe Company. So i-aggregate muna natin sila or ipagsasama-sama natin sila. So what are those? Cash, accounts receivable, inventory, and PPE. Pagdating kay PPE, it must already be net of accumulated depreciation. Okay? So it must be presented at 10,800. So, how much is your total assets in US dollars? Answer, $80,800. Sir, yan na ba ang final answer natin? Hindi pa. It must be translated in Philippine peso. Anong exchange rate ang gagamitin natin for asset accounts? Answer, closing rate or the December 31 rate, which is the 53 pesos. So, the final answer should be 4,282,400. So the final answer for number 1 would be 4,282,400. Number 2, how much is the total liabilities of Monroe Company on December 31, 2019 translated in Philippine peso? So based on the trial balance that was provided to us, isa lang ang liability account ni Monroe Company, that is accounts payable. How do you translate liability accounts? Using closing rate or December 31 rate. So magkano ang total liabilities natin in peso? 201,400. So final answer for number 2 is 201,400. Number 3, how much is the net income for 2019 translated in Philippine peso? Now, sa trial balance, we are given sales, cost of goods sold, operating expenses. So, paki-compute muna ang net income in US dollars. So, that is sales less CGS. Meron tayong gross profit na 22,500 less operating expenses of 12,500. So, magkano ang net income natin in US dollars? $10,000. Then, multiply that by average rate. Okay? For practical reasons, we will have to use average rate. That is 51 pesos. So, how much is your net income in Philippine peso? 510,000. Final answer for number 3, 510,000. Number 4, how much is the total shareholders' equity of Monroe Company translated in Philippine peso? Pagdating natin dito kay total sheet, you will have to apply the basic accounting equation. That is total assets less total liabilities, both stated in peso. So magkano ang total sheet natin? 4,081,000. How much is the ordinary shares of Monroe Company on December 31 translated in Philippine peso? Recall that in order to translate a contributed capital account, we will have to use the historical rate. Magkano ang ordinary shares in US dollars? 50,000. Magkano ang historical rate? Sir, ano ba yung historical rate? Diba ang sabi natin kanina, ang historical rate is usually the date of acquisition, exchange rate. Kailan daw na-acquire ito si Monroe Company? That is January 1, 2019. That's why we will have to use the exchange rate as of January 1, 2019. Okay, that is 50 pesos. So, magkano ang ordinary shares stated in Philippine peso? 2,500,000. How much is the retained earnings of Monroe Company December 31, 2019 translated in Philippine peso? Pagdating sa retained earnings account, dapat alam nyo yung tatlong components natin. Beginning, profit or loss, dividends. As to beginning balance, anong sabi natin kanina? Dapat alam nyo kung first year of translation ba yan or subsequent year of translation. Pag first year, historical rate. Pag subsequent year, translated balance as of last period. But in this case, alam nating first year of translation pa lang. So, The retained earnings as of January 1, 2019, magkano siya ulit kanina? That is 20,000. You will use the January 1 exchange rate, 50 pesos. So, ang translated retained earnings balance beginning is 1 million pesos. Then, add net income in Philippine peso, na-compute na natin kanina, 510,000. And, total muna natin siya. Then, less dividends, which is stated in Philippine peso. Paano natin i-convert ang dividends, class? That is, what? Based on exchange rate as of declaration date. Kailan ang declaration date? December 1. So, we will have to use the exchange rate as of December 1, 52 pesos. So, magkano ang dividends in peso? 156,000. Therefore, how much is your retained earnings on December 31 in Philippine peso? 1,354,000. That's your final answer for number 6. Okay. I think this is the last requirement, number 7. As a result of the translation process, what amount is recognized on the December 31, 2019 consolidated financial statements as translation adjustment? Ito na yung translation difference natin. Okay? So, how do you compute for this? Take note, it is just a balancing figure within the shareholders' equity. It is just a balancing figure in the shareholders' equity portion. Okay? So, paano yon? Diba ang total share natin kanina is 4,081,000 in peso? Then, nung tinranslate natin yung ordinary shares, 2.5 million. And also, the translated balance of the retained earnings account, 1,354,000. Ima-minus lang natin yung sum ng dalawang yan, may makukuha tayong difference. Ano itong 227,000 na ito? That is already your translation adjustment. Okay? So ang sagot natin for number 7 is 227,000. But may hahabol pa. Anong klaseng translation adjustment yan? Is it a gain or a loss? Is it a gain or a loss? Since ang amount na ito ay positive, it is regarded as a gain. Kaya siya gain kasi positive siya. Okay? Pag positive, nasa credit side siya. Okay? So, this translation adjustment is a credit balance of 227,000. 227,000 is a translation gain. Take note nyo yan. Pag positive, translation gain. Pag nag-negative yan, translation loss siya. Pag naka-loss, debit naman siya. Okay? Sige. We are done with your first problem. Last problem for this video. Problem number 2. This time, 2 years naman tayo. Okay? So, Right Company, a Philippine company, has 100% owned subsidiary in Japan that began operations January 1, 2019. Okay, so we are given the statement of financial position, statement of comprehensive income, and retained earnings. Exchange rates na rin. Take note nyo yan. So, there are 2 sets of requirements as of December 31, 2019 and as of December 31, 2020. Okay, first section muna tayo, December 31, 2019. How much is the total assets in Philippine peso? Total assets in Japanese yen, multiply that by your closing rate, 2019, 1.20. So, answer for number 1, 79,200. Number 2, total liabilities in Philippine peso. The same procedure. Total liabilities in Japanese yen, multiply by closing rate 2019, 1.20. So, our answer, 52,800. Number 3, net income. Anong exchange rate gagamitin natin for the net income? Average rate. Revenue minus expenses, you have net income. Kaso, yung amount na 3,000, nakastate pa yan sa Japanese yen. Imumultiply nyo yan ng average rate. So, our answer for number 3 is 3,150. Number 4, total shareholders' equity in Philippine peso. O, the same procedure. Basic accounting equation, assets less liability. So, total she, 26,400. Number 5, contributed capital translated in Philippine peso. So, in this problem, there are two contributed capital accounts. That is your ordinary shares and APIC or additional paid-in capital. So, ordinary shares plus APIC. So, magkano ang contributed capital in yen? 20,000. Multiply that by historical rate or acquisition date exchange rate of 90 cents. So, how much is your contributed capital in Philippine peso? Contributed capital is 18,000. That's your answer for number 5. Number 6, retained earnings translated in Philippine peso. Since the Japanese subsidiary started operations January 1, 2019, zero pa ang beginning balance, walang problema ang beginning balance natin as of 2019. Had net income, 3,150 as our answer earlier, less dividends declared and paid. Okay? So since date of declaration and the date of payment ay isang date lang, walang problema, gagamitin nyo yung 1.10 pesos natin. So magkano ito? 1,100. So magkano ang retained earnings December 31, 2019? 2,050 pesos. That's your answer for your number 6. Oh, last requirement for the first set. Translation adjustment to be presented in the consolidated balance sheet. So sabi ko nga, it is just within the shareholders' equity portion. Total she in peso, 26,400, less the translated balance of contributed capital and retained earnings. Okay, magkano difference? 6,350. Positive, negative? Positive. So, pag positive, anong ibig niya sabihin? Anong klaseng translation adjustment yan? Anong klaseng translation adjustment? That is a gain. Okay? Or a credit balance. Final answer for number 7, translation gain of 6,350. Alright? That ends your first set of requirements. Second set, December 31, 2020. Okay, let's go. Number 1, total assets, Philippine peso, the same procedure. Just multiply the total assets in Japanese yen by the closing rate year 2020. So our answer for number 1, 78,840. Total liabilities, the same procedures. Determine the total liabilities in Japanese yen, multiply it by the closing rate December 31, 2020. Therefore, our answer, 54,000. Net income translated in Philippine peso, the same procedure. Revenue less expenses. Therefore, you have a net income 5,000 Japanese yen. You will have to multiply that by the average rate of the year 2020. Since given naman siya, 1.16. Okay? So, our answer, 5,800. Now, take note nyo lang, in case na magiging unavailable ang average rate, pwede nyo siyang makompute pa rin. Paano natin kukompute ng average rate kapag in case hindi siya given? That is, beginning of the year exchange rate plus end of the year exchange rate divided by 2 or the midpoint formula lang yan. Okay? So, uulitin ko. In order to compute for your average rate in case it is not available, just add the beginning of the year exchange rate by the end of the year exchange rate and divide it by 2. Midpoint lang siya. Alright? Sige. Retained earnings translated in Philippine peso. Dahil this is already a subsequent year of translation, how do you translate the beginning retained earnings? that should be equal to your translated balance of the last period, 2050. Hindi ka nagagamit ng historical rate kapag subsequent year of translation na. Okay? Sige. Next, add net income. Since na-compute natin kanina yan, ayan na siya. Then, less dividends declared and paid. Since hindi naman pala nagbago ang exchange rate ng date of declaration natin, gagamitin pa rin natin si 1.10 dito. Okay? So, magkano ang sagot natin for number 4? 3,450. Number 5. Total SHE translated in Philippine Peso. Basic accounting equation. Assets less liabilities. Then, here you go. Your answer, 24,840. Ito, last two requirements. Translation adjustment to be presented in the consolidated statement of financial position. Take note nyo lang, kapag binabanggit itong statement of financial position, ang hinihingi niyan ay cumulative translation adjustment. Cumulative balance siya. So, paano natin mako-compute ang cumulative balance? Simply deduct the translated balance of contributed capital and retained earnings from your total SHE in peso. Okay? So, anong tawag natin sa 3,390? That is already your cumulative translation adjustment. Anong klaseng translation adjustment? Gain or loss? Since that is a positive amount, that is a gain or a credit balance. So the answer for your number 6 would be 3,390 credit, cumulative. Then the last requirement, another translation adjustment ang hinihingi natin dito. It is translation adjustment to be presented in the Statement of Comprehensive Income. So pag binanggit naman ang comprehensive income, magkano daw ang naging change within the translation adjustment account during the current year? So how do you compute for that one, sir? Simply compare the cumulative translation adjustment this year and the cumulative translation adjustment of last year. Pareho silang credit, di ba? So you will have just to compare. Ngayon, may balance tayong 3,390, pero last year, may balancing 6,350. So ano nangyari sa translation adjustment account during the year 2020? It decreased by 2,960. Anong tawag natin dyan? That is change in your translation adjustment during 2020. Dahil naka-negative yan, that is regarded as translation loss or debit. Malinaw tayo. Alright, nasa last section na tayo ng video na ito. Translation concepts, hyperinflationary economy. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if the functional currency is the currency of a hyperinflationary economy, the financial statements must be restated first in accordance with IS 29, Financial Reporting in Hyperinflationary Economies, before translating it under IS 21. So sir, dadaanan natin si IS 29 dito sa video na to? Hindi. Hindi natin siya i-cover dito, pero may dadaanan tayong isang important concept sa hyperinflationary economy. Now, after a statement in accordance with your IS 29, tatandaan nyo lang, all amounts shall be translated at the closing rate at year-end. All accounts, meaning assets, liabilities, income, expense, contributed capital, and retained earnings account. Lahat sila ita-translate using the closing rate under this concept. Tatandaan nyo lang, kapag ang ekonomiya ay nasa hyperinflationary stage na, ito na ang ia-apply nyong concept. Pero pag hindi, closing rate method tayo. Are we clear? And this is the end of our lecture. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Bye-bye.